Don't blame the salt for what sugar did. Hello everyone, Semi-Retired Bob here. I talk about the proper human diet, all things related to the proper human diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. Today we're going to have just a brief little discussion on salt. For those of you new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. What you're watching here is you're watching me walk. 19 months ago I couldn't do this. Now I'm out here walking every day. Rain or shine, no matter what the temperature is. It's a no excuses kind of thing. I take a walk every day. I do a lot of other stuff too, but the walking is what I show on this channel, while I try to find something interesting to talk about. Some days it works out, some days, not so much. But help me get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. I'm 60 years old, and I'm doing things now that I couldn't do when I was 40. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Consider subscribing, and drop down in the comments and say hi, Bob. All these things that are absolutely free help get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. For those of you returning to the channel, welcome back. I'm glad you're here as well. It means an awful lot to me that you choose to spend just a little bit of your day with me. But let's jump on into this thing here. Salt. We've been told since we were kids, oh, don't eat too much salt. It's going to make your blood pressure go up. And it's going to have all these bad effects. They even put people like me, who've had heart surgery, on low sodium diets because they believe that it's the salt. Now let's stop and think about this for just a minute. What's one of the things that we have to do to avoid the keto flu when we're first starting a proper human diet? Whether that be the lion diet or the carnivore diet, or the keto diet, the ketovore diet, or even basic low carb. We have to make sure we're getting enough electrolytes. Because when you switch from a normal or standard Western diet to one of these other low inflammatory diets, the inflammation rolls out of our body and it takes our electrolytes with it. You know, the salt, the potassium, magnesium, all of which are important. But salt is the main culprit that they like to talk about. And as we reduce the inflammation in our bodies, we lose a lot of that stored electrolyte. Well, what causes the inflammation? It's the sugar. The sugar increases the inflammation that causes us to hold salt and other things in our bodies that are not necessarily good for us. So the salt gets blamed because when, they do tests on your inflammatory markers, that inflammation always has a high concentration of salt. Because in order to hold on to the inappropriate inflammation, your body has to hold on to that salt. Whereas if you're on a proper human diet, as most of you know, I primarily just eat beef and eggs. Because I'm eating eggs, it's not actually a lion diet, but you've got to, because I just eat beef and eggs, it's a very low inflammation causing diet. So I put a lot of salt on that stuff. As I've discovered, and backed up by some of the doctors that I watch, if you get too much salt in your system, but you don't have inflammation, your body will just pee it out. You'll get rid of it. It's when you have inappropriate inflammation that causes your body to hang on to salt, which is why the salt gets blamed, because if you have inappropriate inflammation, your blood pressure goes up, everything stops functioning as well as it should. And because all of these pockets of inflammation have a high salt content, naturally the salt is going to get blamed for it. But as we've been talking over the last few days, and basically 19 months now too, about how bad the science is on a lot of the human nutrition, I can now, with a fair degree of certainty, tell you that it's not the salt, it's the sugar. Now, in an abundance of caution, am I going to say you should rush right out and eat as much salt as you possibly can? Well, no. But as Dr. Barry says, we have a very good mechanism for telling if we need more salt or need less salt, and that's our tongue, which is why he always says salt your food to taste. You know, if you add salt to your, in my case, beef and eggs, and it tastes like it needs a little more salt, I go ahead and put just a little bit more salt on it. Now I do this slowly because there does come that point where if I'm fully, you know, my body has most of the salt it needs. If I try to add a little bit too much salt, I go to take a bite of my eggs or my beef and it's like, ooh, I got a little bit too much salt on that. That's your body telling you that you don't need quite that much salt. Again, it will pee out the excess, but out of an abundance of caution, I wouldn't keep salting my food heavily if it doesn't taste good. It's amazing how things that taste good are good for us when we're eating the proper human diet. Now, obviously, eating donuts and cookies and cakes and Christmas candy and all that kind of stuff, those taste really good, but they're not good for us. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about things tasting good on the proper human diet spectrum. And of course, there's tons of traffic out here. This is the 21st, making it the shortest day of the year, daylight-wise. Because if I didn't say that, somebody's going to come into the comments and say, well, all days are 24 hours. What are you talking about, shortest day of the year? Shortest daylight day of the year. And it doesn't look like we're going to get a whole lot of that today because it's kind of cloudy and overcast and it's misting out here. It's not super cold. And unfortunately, it's not supposed to get super cold. Instead of a white Christmas here in Nebraska, it looks like we're going to have a muddy Christmas because this is the start and it's supposed to be between, you know, low to mid 40s to maybe even brushing the 50-degree mark over the next few days, and it's supposed to rain all the way through Christmas. So it's not going to be cold enough for us to have a white Christmas. Instead, we're going to have a mud-filled Christmas. That's just the way it goes. And then, of course, after Christmas is over, and we don't want it to be a white anymore, the snow's going to come down. It's going to get cold and nasty, and we're going to have an ice-filled January. I can just feel it. But anyway, that's what I've got for you today, folks. Hopefully some of what I said today about salt makes sense to you. So don't be afraid to salt your food to taste. But make sure you're using real salt. The stuff that you get in the, shall we say, the little round blue things, if you look at those, sugar is either the second or third ingredient in most table salts. So get yourself, I use Redmond's real salt, but wherever you happen to be, whatever real salt you can get, that's what you should use. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I will see you in tomorrow's live stream.